CEO and founder of Turnkey, which is really becoming part of the infrastructure layer. And you guys actually have kind of coined that term and used that after your previous raise. You just raised $30 million in your Series B, which is incredible, having done over $50 million raised. Your background is from Coinbase. You were the lead for Coinbase custody. You took that from $0 to $100 million under management. You have such an incredible story. You've done so much. I'm just grateful to have you on the show. Excited to chat and know more about what's going on. I'd love to maybe get more of like a background in your history of starting Turnkey and why Turnkey for you.
Love that. Thank you for the kind introduction, and super pumped to be on with you today, Hunter. Um, I have been kind of in and around key management for going on 8 years now. So I started getting into crypto in 2017. I think a story similar to a lot of other folks where I invested a little bit, price went up, and I was like, there's something here, and just spent all of my time reading about it. Joined Coinbase when it was about 175 people. So it was this very different world where crypto was not as mass market. There weren't as many people talking about it. And Coinbase was this group of just the biggest brains in crypto doing really, really interesting things across the ecosystem. I ended up meeting my co-founder, Jack, there. So we were working on the very first staking products at Coinbase, launching the Tezos staking validator and then Solana and some other ones. And he was the first engineer on Coinbase custody, and I was the first product manager. And so it was this moment where institutions were starting to enter the space. More and more money was flowing in, and people just needed a very, very secure way to store hundreds of millions of dollars of crypto. So we built out that platform, kind of launched a whole bunch of assets, evolved with the needs of these institutions as they were thinking about how do they store crypto, but also how do they use that crypto in meaningful ways. So staking, governance, all of these kind of DeFi features that have now become so mainstream, but just weren't at the time. So it was a cool evolution because we got to see where the bodies were hidden in some of this, like what was challenging in key management, what people at the bleeding edge were trying to do with that. And there were a lot of headaches to that process. I think some of the assumptions that we made as we built that infrastructure just didn't hold up as we had thousands.
What were some of those assumptions that didn't hold up?
Totally, yeah. So I think the way that Coinbase custody was designed, and still in large part is designed, is about locking up crypto and not letting people touch it. It's like you have $500 million of Bitcoin. You want that to be so secure that no one is ever going to get to it.
Right.
But a lot of crypto right now, you're actively participating on chain. You're trying to send payments. You're trying to trade on a DEX. You're trying to, gain yield through all of these different platforms. And if you lock everything up, you don't have access to that. And so that was one assumption, just kind of the frequency of access there. I think another assumption was Coinbase was kind of designed for a Bitcoin and Ethereum world. And now we're in this super multi-chain world where Ethereum has all of these L2s, L3s, here in L4s.
We're just exponentially expanding at this point.
Yeah. And it's the kind of thing where like crypto is open and permissionless. It's always going to be exponentially expanding just because like it is the biggest melting pot of ideas and the biggest melting pot of innovation.
Yeah.
And so there was a lot of inspiration for Turnkey that came in those experiences. And then after Coinbase, I was over at Trade Republic out of Berlin. It's now the largest brokerage in Europe, basically like a Robinhood for Europe style product, where I was integrating with a lot of custodians, leading their crypto team, launching crypto trading for them. And again, seeing a lot of frustration of how do you actually build products on top of the incumbent infrastructure in the space. And we were integrating with one custodian. It took us 4 months to get a contract in place. And I was like, okay, here we go. We're going to get this done in a couple of weeks. This is going to be amazing. And they sent us an email with the onboarding plan. And it was 6 weeks of onboarding with 27 hours of meetings with their customer success team. And I was like, there has to be a better way. This is insane. Like, what do you want me to do here? This cannot be that hard. And so Jack and I got together in 2022 then with this idea of let's actually take an infrastructure approach to wallet management and wallet infrastructure. Let's boil things down to really flexible primitives so we can plug into that open kind of ecosystem of crypto and allow people to build really bleeding edge products, but also evolve those products with the crypto industry as new features and functionality came out.
Right. Well, it's clearly worked. You guys are you've taken a huge part of the market share of I would call it uh, I mean, the infrastructure layer is a great word, but you guys are really doing key management at the end of the day,
Mhm.
um, and abstracting away this like the worst part of sign up. And we've seen so many companies talk about this for when they're talking about onboarding, especially in the NFT world of I remember Gary Vee was a big proponent of this, like being like, it is not easy to make a wallet. Like you
Mhm.
actually have to sit down, you got to store these keys. Now you're concerned about it. Now you got to go here and grab this money. You guys make it so that you can literally generate wallets with the click of a button. And the management for a company who, you guys are working with like Magic E and a ton of other companies that are big. Um, it is so simple to get thousands of users instantly with wallets on your service. And that's kind of the secret sauce that you guys have created.
Yeah, 100%. And I think an important realization with this as well is wallets aren't one size fits all. Like the security that you need around a wallet that's going to have a $5 NFT is very different from your primary trading account where you might start off with a couple $1,000s, but hopefully it's going to be millions of dollars as you hit the right trades. And you know, you need deeper security, you need deeper controls, you need more guarantees around how those wallets are being stored.
Yeah. And that's all based off of which these two things are the most interesting to me of what you've built are your policy engine as well as delegated signing.
Mhm.
Um, those are a little bit more technical. You might want to explain those so I don't stumble over my words, but can you explain like what those two things are?
Yeah. So, one of the realizations with turnkey is it's important to have flexible controls over access to the wallet. It doesn't matter if your wallet is locked up really well. If the access is open, then anybody is going to get access to the assets on
Right.
there. Um, and so we were trying to balance this really easy sign up with the ability to have more controls over what can happen with that wallet when it's being used. Um, the other piece that we realized is users aren't always going to be at their computer in order to approve with their non-custodial wallets. And a lot of folks want to be able to delegate access to a company, a Telegram bot, even an AI agent to be able to take certain actions on behalf of them. So let's say you want to set a limit order. Well, you're not going to be waiting at your computer being like, okay, I'm going to tap yes once the price hits. You're going to delegate access to someone to make that limit order on your behalf. And that's been a super popular feature for us because people have been able to build these more complex trading experiences where they're really able to have the feeling of a centralized exchange in DeFi.
I also think that DAOs, I think agents probably the more interesting one there as well. Those two, on top of limit orders, I
Yeah,
think are growing industries. I would assume Solana is where you see the most of your volume as a company right now. Uh,
it's a mix. I feel like Solana is definitely more high throughput in many ways. We have a ton of Ethereum apps on top of us, but we're also very multi-chain. So we have people building in Sui, Aptos, even like Stellar and Tron and XRP, Bitcoin, every asset under the sun.
right. I'm curious what the most interesting solution that you've seen turnkey used for yet has been.
It's a really good question. I think that there are always because we've taken this infrastructure approach, there are always pretty surprising use cases that people have where they come up with new ways of using those underlying APIs. I think a cool one, as Moonshot was really taking off with the Trump coin trading madness, we jammed with them on sending crypto with a link. So they wanted to have that Venmo style viral growth lever where you can say, hey, I'm sending $5 to Hunter, and Hunter just has to open up this link and he's going to have it ready to go in a new fresh wallet. That worked really out of the box with what we had. They launched it in 24 hours after that conversation. It was super helpful as they were going completely viral on the App Store. So that was a really cool one. I really love the non-custodial limit orders and some of these delegated
Yep.
access things that people take. We've also seen turnkey used as a really interesting recovery method. So
Hmm.
working with a bunch of different folks where turnkey can be a backup method for a wallet.
Oh, very interesting. I hadn't even thought of that.
Yeah.
That's, you guys have your hand in so many little things. How big is the team now?
We're 35, and it is this inflection point where we're probably gonna add, 25 or 30 people over the next year. It's a little scary. It has become a real company overnight in many ways, after a lot of hard work over the last 3 years.
Yeah, I mean, so the 30 million you just raised, I'm assuming that is for just, like, a full ramp up here, hiring engineers, customer sales, like, just full on, "Hey, it's time to go, like, hyper growth."
Exactly. Yeah, we just see so much opportunity in front of us, and so we're doubling down on that wallets and signing product. We've talked a lot about the embedded wallet use case, so those easy onboardings for end users. We also have a lot of people use us for backend transaction automation. So examples here, Bridge uses us for backend payments flows. Polymarket uses us for managing all of the sensitive smart contracts under their markets. So as Polymarket went and launched a market for who is the new pope going to be, they're actually hitting turnkey underneath the hood. So it's cool to see all of these different areas that turnkey is touching, and I think there's going to be so many more. So we're really just doubling down from an engineering and a go-to-market perspective.
Yeah, I mean, if you go look at their website or your website, it's kinda crazy because it's every person's point, it's almost hard not to be using turnkey at the end of the day. You guys are just so ingrained into everything we're doing. And I think, are you guys always gonna kind of view yourselves as, like, this key management, smart contract, like, management company? I know there has been some conversation around, like, do private keys stop existing as we go to, like, this even further level of, like, wallet abstraction? Um, Curious on your take there.
It's a really good question. I think that there are some challenges with having on-chain passkeys, for example, or
Yeah.
completely keyless wallets, because if you lose that passkey, you lose full access to the wallet. And on top of it, it's not cross-chain, so you can't use an on-chain passkey on Bitcoin. And consumers want that single login where every single crypto that they want to play with or trade or do things with is going to be under that authentication layer. So I think that there is still going to be a lot of space for a key management provider like Turnkey, but some of that's going to evolve. We're plugging in account abstraction, we're plugging in things like on-chain passkeys over time, and so there's going to be a lot of evolution there. One thing that is really unique about Turnkey is our security foundations. So we had seen the evolution of cold storage and hot storage to MPC to other kind of HSM approaches,
Yep.
and as we built Turnkey initially, we took really first principles views here of what needed to be done. So um, we are leveraging secure enclaves. Trusted execution environments is another term for that. You'll hear about TEs all over crypto Twitter.
It's
Um,
ramping up as, like, a accepted, and you kinda have to know what TEs are at this point if you're pushing that, like, leading edge of, like, security on chain.
100%. And I think it's surprising because when we started Turnkey, people were like, "You're doing TEs for key management? Like, that sounds crazy. Like, why would you do that? Why aren't you using MPC?" And I think it's now become the default. Coinbase has launched a TE
Yep.
option. Privy has launched a TE option. A whole bunch of other folks have leaned into the approach that we kind of took from the ground floor. Um, but what we've done that's interesting is we've created this way to launch verifiable applications into TEs. Um, and so it's a lot of words, but what this really means is don't have to trust that the code that we think is running in there is running. We can actually cryptographically prove that it's actually running. And so you can almost think of this like an off-chain smart contract where there's guarantees around how that code is deployed and changed, and you can verify at any point in time that the code is doing exactly what you think it is. And so our view is crypto key management is the Thunderdome of security. And so taking that super intense perspective there has been really important. But as we've gone to market with this, a lot of people have been tapping us and being like, hey, we want to launch our own verifiable applications for other things that might be too expensive or too slow to run on chain. So you can imagine off chain order books, verifiable AI agents, verifiable sequencers or relayers, or
Yep.
even cosigners, all these different things. Um, We're actually working on something with a pretty major player in the crypto industry that we'll be announcing in the coming months around a first verifiable app launched on our infrastructure. I can't share much right now, but definitely keep an eye out. That's going to be another area that we're going to lean into, which is a little bit adjacent from our wallets and signing product, but going to be a big part of our business.
And you think the verifiable apps are gonna ramp up as, like, another sector of your business that like, even part of an industry that we never even talk about that as, like, a user or an investor, like, we don't hear about verifiable apps. We hear about TEs, we hear about account abstraction, etcetera. Um, where do you see, like, verifiable apps playing, though? Is it really just that saving on on-chain cost?
Yeah, it's not even just cost though. There are things that if you actually dig into crypto companies are done in really centralized kind of hand wavy ways that people just breeze past right now. I think longer term, as crypto continues to decentralize, as more value is held on these systems, it's super important to have these security guarantees. So I think there are aspects of the current crypto ecosystem that we can replace. And then whenever you come out with a new platform, part of it is just waiting to see how people use it. And so I think turnkey wallets and signing, it's been super surprising all the crazy ways that people have used it. And turnkey verifiable compute, as we get our first design clients off the ground and then launch it more broadly, is going to be a big piece there too.
Oh, man. I mean, I'm already a user, and I'm already obviously a fan, like, that's why
Yeah.
I invite you on, but you get me more excited, which,
Yeah.
I can see why Bane led the round, I can see. I think a question, like, the biggest questions when I was first looking at Trinky, and I'm sure everybody has, is, like, 1 is security. You went over that. How hard is it to set up? It's not hard, the APIs and docs are great. The probably 3rd question, and I know is gonna kill me if I never ask this, is latency.
Yeah.
Because you're giving up, kind of like this control, be like, I am in command, I can stick this wherever I want." You guys have to have this fast, throughput for trading terminals, for somebody who's clicking buy and expecting that buy to go through, down to, like, however fast milliseconds you can go. Um, you guys are very
Yeah.
fast. Talk me through that pain point, that engineering, I guess it's quite impressive what you guys have pulled off. Just walk me through how you guys stay so fast.
Yeah. So a lot of this comes down to that first principles approach and using TEs for our infrastructure. But throughout the entire chain of our infrastructure, we've been optimizing for latency and continue to do so. I think there's even room over time that we're going to improve that. Right now, signing on turnkey is about 50 to 100 milliseconds signing latency. It's crazy to compare this to some of the MPC solutions on the market, for example, where 5 to 10 plus seconds. You even hear people where it's like it takes me 30 seconds to sign a transaction.
Yep.
And you can't imagine like having a consumer go into an app and click trade and then the wheel spinning for 30 seconds and it's like, hold on, we're almost there. We're almost there,
Yep.
guys. So this is just super critical as we think about how do we make crypto products mainstream and how do we make crypto products even better than the existing financial products that people are used to.
Exactly. I mean, it's got to feel Web 2. It's got to feel instantaneous, no friction, and you don't even know you're using crypto at the end of the day. It's just, hey, I want to buy X, and it happens. It's not, oh, you need to set your gas, you need to set, oh, you need this sign to approve that. It just happens.
Yeah. And I think that's why a lot of the products like Moonshot and Believe on top of Turnkey have done so well because it just feels like a normal app. Like you can have the, middle schooler who's like, I want to buy Fartcoin, go into Moonshot and they can do it super easily.
Yeah, I we're seeing that for sure, and it's definitely become like ingrained in the culture of like, okay, now kids don't have to be experts of understanding what cryptography is. They can just literally download an app, throw $10 in there, and be buying something.
Totally. Yeah.
Um, I'm curious as you sit here today, kind of looking back at what you've built and where you're going as a company. The rest of the industry is also evolving and changing. We have more chains coming out. We have different metas. I mean, the agent meta has kind of the latest one as well as the meme coin one. Um, where do you just see the entire industry going as a whole? Is it just more consumers coming on and more app builders entering the space? Is it a heavy alignment to AI agents? Like, how are you viewing it and positioning yourself for it?
It's a big, big question. I think we're in a pretty interesting spot right now because we've solved a lot of the usability problems. So you don't need to remember your seed phrase. You have snappy execution. You have a lot better interoperability. You have things like gas abstraction. And so the building blocks are there. And I think now it's more of a question of how do developers use those building blocks in really compelling ways to build something that matters. I think the three areas that we've been most excited about have been DeFi, stablecoins, and AI. DeFi obviously just continues to grow and continues to become more and more sophisticated. Institutions are entering the space. We're seeing more interesting use cases across the board, and it's becoming a big, you know, competitive set of features versus the traditional financial system. So excited to see more experimentation there as people build out crypto native banks and trading platforms and yield platforms and all of the services that we're used to into the world of crypto. Payments, obviously, stablecoins are absolutely huge, and it's one of the fastest growing technologies in the history of mankind. I think that's going to continue to happen. It's just so obvious that it is better, faster, more programmable, more cross border. You don't need to worry about the clunkiness of this. A fact that somebody told me yesterday, which I think I did not fact check, so I'm going to say it anyways, and we'll see. If you're transferring money from Nigeria to Brazil, 99% of those funds will flow through New York first in order to get to Brazil. There are
Hmm,
so many hops in the traditional financial system as you're thinking about how funds are moving that just don't make sense. Like you should be able to transfer those funds directly between those two
yeah,
countries. And so I think the simplicity that that's going to bring is going to bring a lot of innovation in how payments products are built and how businesses interact with each other and how consumers interact with each other. Um, the last bucket there being AI. Honestly, all the AI stuff that we're seeing, it feels like a toy right now, and I think that's a good thing. I think like there's a ton of experimentation, and these are actually toys that people really like to play with. So a lot of the AI products built on top of Turnkey, the transaction volume is just up and to the right, and they're really ripping. Um, but I don't think we've decided what is the right interface here. Like, do people actually want to think about their financial lives through chat interfaces? Is it going to be like AI agents actually just doing more complicated trading strategies and yield strategies behind the scenes for you, and you're still just clicking a button? Um, I think we're not sure. There's going to be a lot of cool stuff there, and also just fully autonomous agents that are kind of employees and going off and
yeah,
helping you build an app and working with the design agent and the coding agent and the marketing agent to build a business and pay through crypto. I think all that stuff is going to be really cool to see evolve.
yeah. All powered by Turnkey, by the
All
way.
powered by Turnkey. Yeah, yeah,
I mean, it's you guys are have to be amped up after watching notably the Stripe deal happen with Privy. You guys are fighting in the same arena, and obviously there's enough market share to go around, but that has to be a huge signal of where things are headed. You don't see one of the largest financial providers and uh, you just don't see that happen if there isn't a clear indication where we're headed.
100%. It is the biggest vote of confidence that wallet infrastructure is important and crypto is going to change the financial system. I think this is something that we are really, really leaning into. And there's just growing attention from across the industry. There's tons of fintechs that are excited about building non custodial wallets for their users, integrating stablecoins, thinking about how all this fits together. Um, I'll even bring it back to your first question of where does the industry head? I think a lot of the onboarding of the next couple billion of users is going to be happening through these more traditional players that already have massive distribution.
Yeah.
So it has been really exciting to see. Super proud of Henry and the Privy team. Has always been good building alongside them. And I think there is a massive market that's forming here.
Yeah. I saw that one. And I was like, okay, yeah, like things are about to get very stupid. Like that, it just it's crazy to see Shopify accepting crypto. It's crazy to see that you have some of the biggest players coming to Coinbase now to be like, hey, we want to get in the stablecoin market, and uh, every day it feels like there's just more opportunity approaching,
Yeah.
and you
And,
have yeah,
uh,
no, no, go ahead.
and like the stablecoin bill passing the Senate,
Yep.
all of these things, it's like crypto is legitimized now. It is not this fringe thing that people are just playing around with. It is a really big market.
Yeah, and I think we're going to have again those tools that make it feel like, all right, I want to stand up this product. I need an API. I don't want to have to spend building out all the infrastructure to build and hold wallets and customer funds. Like I that should not be on a developer coming out of college's back to do.
Yep.
They should be able to just grab an API and be like, cool, I have wallets now. I can take capital. I can transact. Um, and all of that's just one click, API import away. um, I'm curious on the programming side. Have you guys thought about how you integrate into services like Cursor and AI coding agents to make it even easier for developers to use Turnkey?
Yeah, we're really experimenting a lot there. I think it's earlier days, but we have uh, LLM digestible documentation that you can throw in and start to vibe code with Turnkey. And a lot of how we think about it is not only what is the 0 to 1 experience for an individual developer with hands-on keyboard, but also how do we make Turnkey easy for agents to digest and use. Um, there's a long way to go there. I think we're not fully there yet, but definitely an investment area for us.
Yeah, I I'm again just excited to see where we head. Um, I'm curious outside of what you're doing at Turnkey as a crypto user and a native person of Web3, are there products that you're using that you're finding inspiration from? Companies that are you think are, they don't have anything to do with Turnkey, but you're like, actually, like they're doing some cool stuff, and I think notably worth studying.
Yeah, this might be an easy one, but I am super excited by what World is doing. I think that we are entering into a decade where the internet is going to break, and everyone scrolling through Twitter right now, the reply guys that are just AI driven is truly insane to me. It's just like garbage on my feed left and right. And I think proof of personhood is going to be really, really critical in
Mm,
that. Um, and I think even longer term, um, we have a thesis that more and more things on the internet are going to need to be cryptographically stamped and cryptographically signed for validity. So you know that there are actually people behind these things, not AI agents. That you have more guarantees
right.
around who you're interacting with on the internet. It's a big, hairy, messy problem, but I think some of those aspects that World is pushing forward, those are pretty awesome.
On that note, then, as we get more, deep fakes and AI generated images, etc., the provenance of where that's coming from, do you see yourself playing in like as a verification service as well? Like, I mean, we kind of talked about that as like a verifiable app, but
Yeah,
you guys almost have like, hey, if we're creating these wallets and we're creating and I guess owning the infra of where these apps live, we have the ability to verify, hey, this is a real wallet from a real person.
yeah.
Um, do you see that, or is that like, hey, that's somebody else's job to come in and like use our infra to do that?
I think probably somebody else's job to use our infra, but it's something that we're gonna have to explore over time. And I think Turnkey in many ways it is this hub with a lot of spokes from the rest of the market plugging into it. We're starting to bring a lot more partners into our ecosystem and think about how they plug into Turnkey wallets. Um, and things like that of user verification and making sure that these aren't bots and these are actually people that are going to be participating meaningfully. That's going to be super important in the long run as this scales to billions and billions of users.
I I love it. It's like your media trained. It's incredible. Yeah. For people who are interested in using Turnkey, well, I mean, I've kind of explained it's very simple, but like, what should they do to get started? What do they need to be looking at? what do you want? Like, who are the companies that you're like, hey, if you're building this right now and you don't have a wallet provider, or you don't have like a like, we need you, we want you, please come sign up and talk to us.
Yeah. So I think anybody who is either doing heavy transaction automation with keys or is trying to onboard users in the most seamless kind of crypto newbie way, Turnkey is a great solution there. You can sign up and get started on turnkey.com. You can follow us at Turnkey HQ on Twitter. You can follow me on at SadBryce and DM, and I am very responsive on Twitter. So happy to dig into whatever folks are building across the ecosystem. I mentioned DeFi payments and AI, but we're working with folks doing NFTs, social apps, literally anything that you can imagine in crypto. Ultimately, it all starts and ends with a private key.
Yeah, I would imagine SocialFi has also been a big area that it feels like every week now we're getting another social network, another SocialFi product. Um, Again, it just comes back to this idea of everything is expanding outwards exponentially, and there has to be that provider there at the end of the day. The fact that you guys also have been so multi-chain versed, I imagine that has to be kind of hard keeping up with. Again, every week there could be a new L2, there's a new L1. How do you guys like prioritize where that's going? Is it just volume, demand?
Yeah, so this was something that again we wanted to think about how can turnkey not be the roadblock as people are developing and crypto is expanding. Um, there was this kind of funny moment at Coinbase custody where we weren't able to support Solana staking quickly enough, and a client ripped his shirt off on a call with customer success and started screaming and was like, "I can't believe this! I'm losing money minute by minute." And it was this click of like, he should be able to do this himself. Like he should be able we should offer him the tooling to make sure that Coinbase is not the blocker here. And so as we thought about turnkey, it was this idea of let's actually have a modular approach to asset support. So our lowest level support is do we support the cryptographic curve of the private key? And we support the two main cryptographic curves that cover 99.99% of all crypto. Above that, we have things around address derivation, SDK support, policy engine support that just gets higher and higher levels of support. And at that point, as we go up the stack, it's about what are our customers asking us for? What are the trends that we're seeing in the market? Where is the volume coming from? And how do we make sure that we're just covering the largest swath of the crypto ecosystem?
Yeah. Well, that's a great story.
It was
I
fucking insane.
wait, did he like actually like rip his shirt off like in the middle of the meeting? Like,
Yeah, it was like 2 a.m. for him, and he was having a little bit of a psychotic break, I think. But it's tough for some people out there.
I mean, as a founder, you came from Coinbase as a product manager. This is the first company you founded and started, correct? Like,
That's right. Yeah.
what has been the founder journey for you like? Some people love it. Some people say it is like eating a bowl of nails every morning. You got to be able to stomach that. Like, what has it been like for you, and would you do it again?
Yeah, it's like you wake up every morning and you don't know if it's going to be nails or marshmallows. I guess. I feel like the whole "it's a roller coaster" thing is so true. When we started Turnkey, it was the end of the 2022 bull market. Everything was at this like super high euphoric state, super easy to raise, and I think we just had a ton of excitement around what we were building. And we got deep into the trenches. FTX happened. All of the things went downhill, and it was this moment of like, okay, how long is this crypto winter gonna last? And really pushing a boulder uphill. Um, I think that the nice thing is a lot of people think that they have to start a company when they're 20 years old and drop out of college. Um, Seeing Coinbase, seeing Trade Republic, and having those experiences, and also surviving through the ups and downs of the crypto cycles, I think it's just made me and my co-founder Jack a lot more resilient and realize that okay, like we have to plan for the downsides, but the downside and the bear market is eventually going to lift and we'll be in a good spot. And so I think now we're in a more exciting market and things are taking off. And so it's really just figuring out like how do you stay kind of marathon pace and sustainable through all of that craziness.
Right. Yeah, because there are gonna be, no matter what you're doing, we're in a very financial industry, and there will be those downturns where if you're making fees, your fees are going to drop significantly as volume and even price. It's exponentially drop.
Yeah.
Uh, you have to be prepared for that. Your background is in what? I'm curious.
So I studied industrial engineering at Georgia Tech, which is kind of just like business and systems
Yep.
engineering. And then I did management consulting at Bain right out of school,
Oh, wow.
which I think in the crypto world, a lot of people love to hate on consultants, but frankly, it's just a like, how do you operate
Yeah.
training camp? So it was
I mean,
really, yeah, go
an
ahead.
engineer with a consulting background is a very deadly
Yeah,
especially industrial engineering, which is you have to understand a multi-discipline flow of how everything interacts together and efficiencies. And yeah,
yeah,
that's I can see how that all comes together for turnkey to come out of that.
yeah. I think ultimately every company is just like a bunch of component parts that fit together. And if you can keep that system in your head and think about where are the things that are going too slow, where are the things that are going too fast, how do you optimize all of those pieces, you're in a really good place.
Yeah. Yeah. For turnkey coming out of that bear, and obviously we're in the middle of a bull and things are very, marshmallowy and rainbowy right now. What do you like for somebody who's building in a bear, and the whole industry right now is building and operating in a bull. If a bear were to come, like what are you encouraging people to be like thinking about from like a sustainability perspective right now?
Yeah,
Um, is it going and raising capital while you can raise capital? Is it finding ancillary revenue streams? Again curious from your mind because very rarely do we have opportunity to talk to people who are like in the middle of it, in the thick of it, raising these
yeah,
large Series Bs, acquisitions all around them happening,
yeah.
and just kind of like battle tested.
Uh, I feel like the advice of raise money when you can definitely rings true, and making sure that you have enough to see yourself through 2 to 3 years, because these cycles usually last, 1.5 to 2.5 years. Outside of that, there are elements of how do you just build conservatively when it makes sense to build conservatively and punch on the gas in ways that are also conservative. I think has been a history of crypto companies getting out over their skis as euphoria happens, and people launch 18 different products at the same time. They spread themselves too thin, and then they end up doing everything poorly and cutting a lot of headcount down the line. Um, a lot of this depends on your stage as well. I think that part of this is getting really deep into what do you think the crypto industry needs, and um, both skating to where the puck is, but also trying to push the puck in different directions. Zach at Bridge has said that, hey, they really had to push the puck on stablecoins to drive adoption there. And I think that's really true in crypto, where everything is kind of this new category creation. We haven't figured out all of the best ways that crypto is going to be used. And so make sure that you're hunkering down and actually taking that first principles approach and pushing forward in the direction that you think is right versus just trying to ride these hype cycles.
Love that. Love that. Well, like as you've obviously built like Coinbase and been building Turkey, have you been like an active user of like NFTs or was it meme coins? I'm curious, like as like an actual Web3 participant, like where you what you call home, I would say. I would say.
Yeah, I feel like I spread myself thin across a lot of things. I am one to just experiment across the board. Um, NFTs lost money on, meme coins lost money on. So I feel like that is my trend is I try a lot of things and I lose a lot of money across the board.
You're like, I'm just gonna build. It's way easier. Or not easier, but at least I know I'm not gonna lose money building a company that has users and revenue
Yeah,
compared to, I think there's a lot of people that feel the same way though. And I hope that the people that have like the ability to build are kind of like not getting slapped on the wrist and the knuckles by meme coins being like, oh, screw this industry.
yeah,
Um, there's so much opportunity. One
yeah,
of the things that we saw trending the other day was there's only like 1 or 2 more years of opportunity left, and then we're done. Like this is the final cycle. Do you see it that way?
I mean, it's like 10% of the world is using crypto right now. I don't think we're gonna go from 10% to 100% in 1 to 2 years, and there's tons of businesses that get built as second movers in industries. Um, even Brian Armstrong, he loved to say at Coinbase that when he started Coinbase, he thought he was too late to crypto. And I think we are in more of this mass market phase of crypto as things really democratize, but there's still a ton of opportunity here.
Yeah, I can see that, and especially as we have the largest company in the world still lagging behind. I'm curious for Turnkey, if you guys could onboard any company right now, go to them and be like, "Hey, use our product." Who would it be?
Um, Yeah, I mean, there are a ton of big names. I think there's the Amazons and the Walmarts of the world who are talking about doing stable coins. I think there's the Visas and the MasterCards of the world who are huge financial behemoths and kind of running our current payment rails. There's all of the big bulge bracket banks that are plugged in everywhere. So I think it's like, how do we think about those Fortune 100 companies and actually getting them to use crypto in meaningful ways?
Is that on your back as a company to be kind of like an evangel to be
Evangelists?
evangelist?
Yeah.
Jesus, to like go out there and like convince these companies to do it. Like, is that on you to do?
Yeah, I think part of it is on the whole industry. Like, I think these folks only move as the Overton window moves into a place where it is okay for them to take what they view as a risk,
Right.
crypto. But a lot of our sales process and conversations with folks, it's education. It's like, how does crypto actually fit into your stack? What are the advantages of this? And we have worked with a lot of crypto native people and they instantly get turnkey like that. And as we work with more non crypto native people, we have to up level it. We have to talk about not, hey, here are the security advantages and the latency advantages of turnkey, but it's like, here's what you get for integrating stable coins into your stack. And here's how this is going to improve your processes. And here's how this is going to reduce costs and really drive new product lines for you and all of that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, as a customer of services who's chosen certain ones over others for offering stablecoin processing, that's like I totally get that. And I feel
Yeah.
like so many companies don't even know that.
Yeah.
And the company that I use a one service for, they probably just did it because they're like, oh, like we'll throw it on there. Why not? Um, my friend runs like one of the largest light bulb companies in the United States, and he threw it on there, and he was like, "Yeah, I get a ton of like orders now from like these third world countries, and because I just
Exactly.
decided to throw it on there." He's like, "And I would never have done that, and now I have business that's spiking."
That's
Um, like, yeah, probably
there's
something you
so
should
many
talk to, honestly.
Yeah, there's so many pockets of crypto usage around the world, and I think it's always interesting for me talking to friends where they're like, "I don't get crypto. How is this gonna change my life?" And it's like, financial services in America and in the West in general, they're really fucking good. You have a credit card that you can tap anywhere, you have your bank account, but you go to these other places where there's hyperinflation, there's poor access to financial services, and the democratization of those services to folks is truly, truly life changing. It's driving economic freedom. It's letting people take control of their lives and giving them access in ways that they've never had access before.
100%.
Yeah,
100%. And I think that kind of comes from you have to go out and explore and like actually ask yourself, okay, I'm a dude in Maryland in the United States. Is it this way everywhere else? Hell no.
yeah. Exactly. But
Yeah,
some people can't reach that. They're only like blinders on, looking at what's right in front of them. So
yeah, no, and yeah, I've gone to some other countries. I'm like, damn, we have it really good
yeah,
in America right now. I should probably stop complaining on some things.
100%.
Although I will never stop complaining on wiring money. That is one of the stupidest, most frictional. I want to pull my hair out every time. Like
Yeah.
it is the dumbest thing.
It's insane. Like some of those processes, even as we were receiving our fundraise, there was a wire that we were receiving from Asia, and it got caught up in some process, and they had to go and resend it, and it ended up taking 10 days to get that wire processed, and it was like, send us crypto.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't just send USDC and it's there 15 seconds later.
100%. Yeah, I've learned my lesson. I've learned my lesson.
There you go. There you go. Well, look, I'm glad I got to have this conversation with you. I'm obviously a big fan and I'm jazzed up about what you guys are doing. And I hope that people that are listening here, whether you're building or you're using some of the services that you didn't even know are using turnkey, you understand how that frictionless and very quick service is happening. Um, any last remarks for, I guess, potential customers or just participants of the space?
I think the last thing I'll underscore is just people have not built the next generational crypto applications yet. That there is so much space to build something really, really massive, and we've designed turnkey to be flexible to reach those visions, to be creative as you build new products here. And so, for all the builders in crypto who are thinking about what they want to do next, I'm always down to just brainstorm, jump on a call, think through ideas, share what we're seeing in the market, share how turnkey can fit in, and would love to chat.
Love that. Accessible. That's what you want. You want accessible devs and founders. That's how you
Yeah,
build things that are, again, not like bottom of the barrel. You have to have those combos and build things out to stand out. So I love that. Bryce, thank you so much for coming on. If you guys are listening, you haven't, make sure you're following him at Sad Bryce and following Turnkey HQ on Twitter. And reach out if you're building something. They have my absolute vouch, and I love what they're doing.
this was awesome, Hunter. Thanks so much for taking the time.
Not a problem, brother. And look forward to building along.